What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another video from Featured Tech. In this video, I'm going to be doing a comparison video between the Dyson TP04 Tower Fan and the LG PuriCare AeroTower Purifying Fan. Now, before we get deep into the video, make sure to subscribe for more awesome videos like this. Let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to start with is price. Now, both of these fans retail for $550, but with the LG AeroTower Purifying Fan, you can find it for around $450. At least that's what I found it for at my local Costco. If you're lucky enough to have a Costco near where you live, you can probably get it for around $450. That's the last time I checked, was a couple weeks ago. And with the Dyson TP04 Tower Fan, that also retails for $550, but I found it as low as $350 on some third-party websites. But still, be very careful when you're purchasing this fan refurbished or used. Moving on now to measurements and weight. Now, while I talk about the weight for each one of these fans, I'm going to be including the measurements as well up on your screen for the Dyson here and for the LG over here. Now, with the weight, the LG fan weighs 27.6 pounds, which is really heavy for a purifying fan if you're going to try to move this fan from one room to another. In fact, this fan is so heavy that LG included some kind of handle for you to use when you're trying to move the fan around. Then there is the Dyson TP04 Tower Fan, which weighs almost 12 pounds. It actually weighs exactly 11.98 pounds. So it's very much lighter than the LG fan. Let's talk design and material. Beginning with the LG fan, I really do like the U-shaped design for it. I think it makes it look sleek, and it's going to take a while for that fan to be outdated. Now, when it comes to material, it is made out of plastic that has a very matte finish to it. Now, moving on to the Dyson. The Dyson is also made out of plastic. The only difference is with the plastic on the Dyson, it has a glossy finish. But I am not a fan of the plastic because when you do tap on it, it does sound a little bit cheap. Take a listen. So definitely something that sounds kind of disappointing, especially when you pay $550 for a fan. Now, if we go down to the filter shroud right here, it has a more matte finish than the top of the fan that has a glossy finish. Now, moving on back to the LG fan, which the filter shroud does have a smoother finish than the rougher matte finish up here. Next, let's talk filter. Now, to gain access to the filter for the Dyson, simply push down these flaps on either side of the fan, right here by the filter shroud, and as soon as you do, these two pieces separate, which you gain access to the filter. Now, there is two different types of filters you can utilize with this fan. This is the first type of filter, which is a two-piece filter, but Dyson came up with a combi filter, which is a combination HEPA and carbon filter. But the one I have is the older version of the filter, and let me just show you, quick warning, this is the HEPA filter. Yes, I know it is filthy, but I've been using it for the last few months. Next, you have your carbon filter. Now, the carbon filter is really meant to deodorize your air, clean it up, and the HEPA filter is meant to pick up allergens, as you can see, and dust. Let me just bring it up close to anybody that does want to see this. This is what it looks like after about 7 months of use with this fan. Now, the same system is right here with this filter. Same thing. You have your carbon filter and the HEPA filter that works very well together to eliminate and purify your air. When it comes to installing the filters back into the fan, it is kind of a pain. So let me give you a quick example right now. So I want to install this filter back in. As you can see, the HEPA is pretty easy. The issue is it comes with the carbon filter, which is annoying to install because you have to try to align it as best as you can, and then you push in very aggressively. Now, the reason why I'm talking about the installation of the filter is because I'm going to show you how much easier it is with the LG filter once we get to it. Now, these filters, in case you're wondering, goes for about $80, and the same price goes for the combination filter that I was telling you about. Both of these types of filters are the same price, although you can actually find cheaper third-party filters from Amazon for like 40, 50 bucks. So this is how you do it. This is how you install it. Somewhat easy, but I'm telling you, it is a lot easier with the LG fan. Let me show you. Then there's the filter for the LG fan. Now to gain access to that filter, you just simply pull this cover that's right underneath the LG screen. And once you pull it out, the cover is very easy to take off and put back in because of these 4 magnets that you see right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to put the cover to the side and you're greeted with the filter right away, which you can utilize this flap to pull it out. Now on the outer side of the filter, you have your HEPA filter, and on the inside you have your carbon filter right here. Now the carbon filter deodorizes and cleans up your air, removes any harmful odors, and then with the HEPA filter, it picks up and removes any allergens or dust that you have in the air. A couple of things I want to add about this filter is that unlike the Dyson filter, this is a little bit more expensive. This filter goes for $100. Meanwhile, like I said, with the Dyson filter, it goes for about $80. So there's a $20 difference between the LG filter and the Dyson filter. Now, unlike the Dyson filter that I showed you, there's no third-party sellers selling this filter, which means you're going to be paying full retail for this filter for a while. As of the time that I'm recording this video, which is August 7th of 2022, there is no other third-party filter that is cheaper than the $100 you'd be paying for this. The last thing I want to mention about the filters is the filter life. Now with my Dyson, I get around 7 to 8 months of filter life, and that's because I use these filters aggressively. That means that I have my fan on at max speed every single day for those 6 months. I would say maybe out of the 6 or 7 months, I turn off my fan for a total of maybe a week in total out of those 7 months. So I am aggressively using this fan, and that's why I'm going through filters much more quickly than the manufacturer suggests. Same thing goes with the LG fan. If you're going to be utilizing the fan at the top speed that you can use it at every single day, you're going to run out of filter very quickly, which means it's going to get dirty and you're going to want to replace it sooner. So it's just something for you to keep in mind. Now let's test out how loud these fans can get. Now with the LG fan, I'm going to be testing it at level 1, level 5, level 10, and turbo mode. And because my room is not 100% quiet, obviously, if I don't talk at all, you're going to see that it hovers between 34 to 35 decibels, as you can see. So I'm going to really test it out from 35 and up. So I'm going to begin with level 1 speed. As you can see, level 1 really only raised it by 4 decibels. Next, I'm going to do level 5. Level 5 brought it up by 13 decibels. And level 10. With level 10, it brought it up by 25 decibels. Finally, turbo mode. And turbo mode brought it up by about 29 decibels. Next, I'm going to be doing the same test with the Dyson Tower Fan. The only difference is there is no turbo mode, so I'm only going to be testing it at level 1, level 5, and level 10. Now the baseline for my decibels have decreased a little bit, so now it's around 30 decibels baseline, as you can see. So we're going to be measuring the decibels from the 30 decibel baseline. So this is what level 1 sounds like. As you can see, it added around 12 decibels. Next is level 5. And that added around 23 decibels from the baseline. And finally, level 10. and that added 32 decibels in total from the baseline decibel of 30. So as far as which fan is quieter, the winner is the LG PuriCare AeroTower fan. Even at turbo mode, it is actually still quieter than the Dyson fan at level 10. The next test I'm going to be doing is how cool is the air that's coming out of these fans. Now, I have both fans on level 10 fan speed, and I'm going to start by testing out the LG first. So let's see. So 73 degrees Fahrenheit. Now with the Dyson, 73.7. So almost a degree warmer than the LG fan, which is not something of a huge deal. I'm going to test it out one more time just to be safe. So 73.4. Now, if you're wondering where I'm aiming this, I'm really aiming this right at the inner vent in there, because there's really no air that comes out of this. It's more of the back vent of that fan. So this is where I'm testing it out, and I'm going to do it again. So 73 degrees, and I'm going to do it one more time with the Dyson. 74.3 degrees. So the LG fan is the winner here, but by like 1 degree. I personally don't feel a huge difference between the two, but according to this, the LG fan is the winner. So the temperatures that you just seen was when I just turned on both of the fans. But now I've had these fans on for the last hour, both at the same speed of level 5. So let's test out to see if there's any temperature change in the air that's coming out of both of these fans. Starting out with the LG fan, pointing it right at the vent, I am getting 71.9. Now pointing it at the Dyson, I'm getting 72.1, so really 0.2 degrees of Fahrenheit. Not much of a difference, but overall still a little bit cooler than what it was when you first turned on the fan. When it comes to controls on the Dyson TP04 Tower Fan, you have one button up here, which is your power button. Now, you can use this obviously to turn on and off the fan, but you can also utilize this button to actually pair it with the Dyson Link app, which is another way that you can control this fan. I'm going to go over the app later in the video. But right here, you have this LCD display that you can look at to see current, statistics about your air quality. So this is your current air quality, but if you press on the I button right here on the remote, you can actually get access to other pieces of information. So the next screen right here is your 24-hour air quality. Next is your particulate matter that is as small as 2.5 microns. Next, particulate matter up to 10 microns. Then you have your volatile organic compounds. Next, you have your carbon dioxide. Then you have your current temperature in the room. So currently in my office, it is a bit hot. It is 82 degrees. Next, you have your humidity percentage. So it's currently 48% humidity in the office. And then you have this little display that gives you an estimate of when you need to replace your filters or the remaining filter life that you have left until you need to replace them. And then finally, you have this like Wi-Fi logo. Now, when it's blinking, it means that it's not paired with the app yet and it's trying to connect to the app. So I didn't connect it to the app just yet. As far as the remote functions, you have your power button right here. Then you have your information button, which I already showed you can use to change the screens on your display. Then you have your small circle right here and the big circle, which pretty much control your fan speed. So if you press the big circle, you increase the fan speed. Then to the right of that, you have a button called auto, which pretty much puts your fan in auto mode. So if you don't want to constantly control the air quality, you can have the Dyson fan monitor the air quality and it would adjust the fan speed according to the air quality in the room that you set the fan in. Now below that is your inward reverse airflow. And what that does is that it pretty much kicks out the air on the reverse side, on the opposite direction. So instead of it facing you, you can have it face the other direction. The reason for this feature is that if you're cold and you don't want the fan facing you, but you still want it to purify your air, you can activate this feature so that way the air blows away from you and it's still purifying your room. Now, the last two buttons right here is your oscillation button. This fan can oscillate up to 350 degrees, which is a whole lot better than the LG, because I'm gonna get to that in a second. But then you also have nighttime mode. Nighttime mode pretty much makes your fan pretty silent, so you don't have to hear it in the middle of the night when you're trying to sleep. Then there are the controls for the LG fan. So you have the remote right here, you have the controls on top of the fan, and you have the application, which like I mentioned with the Dyson, same thing, I'm gonna go over it later in the video. But then as far as display, you have this circular display that's not as bright as the Dyson fan, but it's also an LCD display. Now with this display, you have this information button right here on the remote. Now, if we press on that, currently it's showing you that your current air quality is good. Now, if we go to the next screen, it tells you about your particulate matter of 10 microns. Next screen, 2.5 microns, 1.0, and then the current temperature, humidity level, the different modes that the fan is currently on, or the current mode that the fan is on. And then you're back to your air quality. And then down here, you have the current speed that you're utilizing. And then right here, up here, that UV that you're seeing, that's just telling you that the UV nano is activated. Taking a look at the controls on the remote, you have your power button to turn on and off the fan. Then you have your options here to increase and decrease the fan speed level. Then to the right of that, you have turbo mode. Now, turbo mode is just an increased power of the fan, but that's only temporary. It doesn't stay on turbo mode forever. That way the motor doesn't overheat. And then below that, you have auto mode. And below that, you have your two arrows facing in different directions. That's because that's your oscillation button. Now, I did mention with the Dyson, it can oscillate up to 350 degrees. Unfortunately, with the LG, it can only oscillate up to 140 degrees. So that's kind of a big drawback if you're the type of person that cares about your oscillation. Now, to the left of that is you have three different pointing arrows around what looks to be a illustration of the fan. And what that means is pretty much the button that controls the different modes that you can utilize that fan in. So if I press this button, you can utilize direct mode, diffusion mode, and wide mode. So I'm gonna keep it on direct mode, and then below that is your information button, which like I mentioned earlier, you can use to navigate your display. And then finally, you have your nighttime button or nighttime mode, which is same thing as Dyson. It pretty much makes the fan at an ultra low and quiet speed, so it doesn't disturb you at night when you're sleeping. Also, you can hold down this nighttime button to adjust the brightness of that screen. But just so you know, this is the brightest that that screen can get. Just like the Dyson, you have a place to store this remote on top of the fan magnetically so you don't have to lose it. It's right here. And once it's stuck, now let me give you a tour of the controls on top of the fan. Right here, you have your power on and off button. Then you have your fan speed increase and decrease. And then on the other side, you have this button where you can change up the different settings and modes of the fan. Next, you have auto mode. And then next you have your oscillation option, which also doubles up as your Wi-Fi connectivity button for when you're trying to pair the fan with the LG ThinQ app. Let me now give you a tour of the Dyson Link app. Now, pairing the fan with the Dyson Link app was pretty straightforward and easy. This is the screen that you're greeted with once everything is successfully set up. So as you can see all the way up here, I chose Princeton. Princeton is a close by town by me. But right below that, it's going to tell you the current air quality summary for the town that you chose. So right now, Princeton, New Jersey has a very good air quality. And then below that is the current temperature outside in Princeton, as well as the humidity level. Now down here is the information for your indoor. This is where the fan is located, and this is what it tells you. So currently my indoor air quality is good, followed by 78 degrees Fahrenheit, 50% humidity level. Now, if we go down here, this is the option to turn on and off the fan, to put it in auto mode, increase and decrease the fan speed. Next is oscillation. And then right here is the remote. Now, this is a virtual way you can access the remote. And right here, you have your on and off button. You have your fan speed here where you can decrease it by scrolling from down all the way up, which is really cool. Oscillation is my favorite customizable feature because of how much you can change with your oscillation. So when you press on there, now the fan is going to turn on, so you're going to hear that in the background. But right here you have off, you have 45 degrees, then you have 90, 180, and like I mentioned, up to 350 degrees. The cool thing is let's just say you choose 45 degrees and it's pointing forward. Now, if you don't want the 45 degrees to be pointing forward, you can have it oscillate 45 degrees towards the side. And you can do that by pressing on this circle and then simply turning it this way. And now it is gonna only oscillate 45 degrees on that side. And that is really cool. That's really something that you can't do with the LG fan. And I'm gonna show you in a little bit the tour of the app. But this is really my favorite feature, and it came in very useful for the last couple of years that I owned this fan. Another cool feature about the app is if you just slide up with your finger, you get to see this graph right here. Now this graph, you can go up to almost a week back and you can monitor the historical statistics for your air quality, your particulate matter of 2.5 microns, 10 microns, your VOC, your carbon dioxide, temperature, and humidity levels. And that is really cool historical data that you can monitor. Now the app does monitor up to a week, but like I showed you on the fan, it can monitor your air quality up for 24 hours, which is pretty cool. And you can see that data right on the fan. But if you want more in-depth information, that's going to be in the app. Once you back out of all these different options, up here you have your settings menu. Now this is where you can go into your machine settings. Once you're into your machine settings, you can adjust the temperature unit from Fahrenheit to Celsius. You can adjust your time zone, the town, like I mentioned. I'm currently by Princeton, New Jersey. Right here, you can adjust your Wi-Fi network. And then right here, it shows you your remaining filter life for your HEPA and carbon filter, as well as you can adjust your continuous monitoring feature, as well as manage your notifications and opt into automatic updates, which that's what I'm doing, because it's just easier that way. Instead of checking for a new update every couple months or so, I let the machine handle it. Next, you can schedule for when your machine to turn on. So if you want your fan to turn on twice a week, you can do that through here. Next, you can learn more about using your machine. This is more of a forums section where you can go into the Dyson forums and talk and learn more about your machine. Next is your voice control options. So as you can see, you have three options here. You have Siri, Amazon Alexa, and Google Home. Next, you can shop for parts and accessories all through the Dyson link here. Now, this will bring you obviously to the official Dyson website to purchase these parts and accessories. Now, this is a troubleshooting link that will also bring you to the Dyson website to share with you some ideas on what you can do if you're having issues with your machine. Now, going all the way back here, you have these three lines to the left, top left. If you press on that, that's when you can add another Dyson machine, go into your account, live chat, support, learn more about your machine, or simply look up the user manual. Now let's talk about the LG app and the pairing process with the LG fan. Now I found the pairing process to be a tiny bit more sluggish than it was with the Dyson. But once you have the fan successfully paired to the app, this is the screen that you see. So up here, it gives you the option to invite people to use the app, which I think anybody who already owns an LG product that's a smart product will use the app and they will know if they want to use the app or not. But below that, you have the fan, which we're going to get to in a second, and below that is the option to add devices to the LG app. Now, this LG ThinQ app is not just a smart app specifically made for the fan, it is actually made for any smart LG product. So you can add more smart LG appliances right here. Below that is a option for your Apple HomeKit, where it gives you pretty much a display of anything that you have in your Apple HomeKit. Now, the LG fan is not Apple HomeKit compatible, but you can add it and you can set up automation tools to actually add it to your Apple shortcuts menu. So keep going down. You have more things that is telling you about the ThinQ Extend and just telling you more about LG products. Below that, you have shortcuts, and you can customize all this. I'm going to show you in a second how to do that. But you have your smart diagnosis, your FAQ, store, and even a link to the LG service portal. Now, below that, you can look at different tips and articles. And below that, you have your recipes. Now, like I said, while it seems weird that recipes are just being displayed in the app that you're using to control your fan, this app is used for any LG smart appliances, even their smart kitchen appliances. So that's why it is showing these recipes. Now, if you go all the way down here, you have the option to actually edit your home screen. So I can go in and then remove the ThinQ Extend, my shortcuts, all of these things except for Apple HomeKit and the device cards. And once you do that, this is the screen that you're greeted with. So it's much more cleaned up than what it was before. Now, once you have the fan paired up, this is what you're going to see. And to get in, you just simply press on the fan, and it's going to tell you that right now the fan is powered off, which is the case. So I'm going to turn it on, and the fan is going to begin powering on shortly, and you're going to begin hearing the fan being used. So down here, you have your particulate matter of 2.5 microns, which it will monitor that. And as you can see, it's telling you that you have good air quality. And also it says this up here as well. Now, if we keep going down, it tells you your indoor temperature for where the fan is located and the humidity level. And then right here, you have the different modes that you can utilize. So you have wide mode, diffusion mode, and direct mode. Now, what I don't like about this app is that it's very vague. There's no art being displayed showing you the different modes in action. It's just dull. There's no creativity behind it. It's just, you feel like it's just listed, in the app just to get it over with. And that's one thing I don't like about the LG app versus the Dyson app. The Dyson app, you feel like it's actually designed for the fan. Meanwhile, the LG app feels like the fan was just added to it as an add-on. There was no care for a $550 purifying fan when they made this. So it's going to seem very dull. Even when you go down to the speed, it just gives you the different speed levels. Now, as I showed you with the Dyson app, at least you can scroll up and down the speeds. It's kind of creative. With this, that's not the case. You just simply press on the number and go from there. Now, below that is your rotation, your oscillation. Again, this is another example where I prefer the Dyson app. There's no creativity here. All you have to do, if you just press on the rotation, it just gives you the degrees, but you can't customize, like I showed you with the app, with the Dyson app, which way the oscillation degrees is facing. You can only choose those degrees that's already set for you. So there's no customization room there like you have with the Dyson. This is simply to turn on and off your oscillation. Below that is the option to schedule when you want the fan to turn on, which is the same feature as the Dyson Link app. Then you can change your display brightness. You can do that on the remote like I showed you, or you can do it on here. So I have it set to max brightness. Then finally you have your UV Nano, which I have turned on so it can help eliminate any dust or any harmful particles from the fans, being accumulated on the blades inside the fan. Now, if we look at the top screen here to the right, you have this tree looking symbol. Now, if we press on that, this gives you a much better breakdown of your air quality. So your particulate matter of 1.0, it doesn't only not just tell you the status of it, but it also gives you a detailed measurement as well. So you have that with your particulate matter of 2.5 microns, 10 microns, and then also again mentions your indoor temperature and humidity level. Now, if we go up to right here, this is where you can see the historical data. Like I mentioned with the Dyson app, if you scroll up, you can see the last 7 days. With this, you can actually see data going back to a year. So that's actually one big advantage over the Dyson fan, which is the Dyson fan, the historical data only goes up to back a week. This actually goes back to a year. So the only thing though is that it doesn't save that data if you disconnect the fan and then you move it to another room. So keep that in mind, which is the classic example of what I did here. The fan was originally in my bedroom, but once I disconnected it and moved it down to the office, all that data reset. That's why you see I have no data. Even though I've had this fan now for about 4 or 5 months, there's no data accumulated for the last day because I'm just beginning to use the fan in the office. Something to keep in mind is that data measurement that you see going back up to a year is only measured for particulate matters up to 2.5 microns. You don't have the option to change it to anything else. So that is the only thing that's being measured up to a year back, which I guess is okay. But with the Dyson app, you have actually the ability to go back a week, but you can do it with your temperature, humidity, air quality, and your different sizes of particulate matter in microns. So kind of a drawback, but it depends how you look at it and how much you care about the size of the microns that you're tracking. Now, if we go back to the remote here, as you can see, there are 3 dots all the way to the top right. If we press on that, you have 3 different settings that pop up. First is your filter management. This is where you get to see the status of your filter, and because this is only one, like a 2-in-1 filter, you only get to see one stat for it. Now, with the filter reset is just simply once you install a new filter, reset it, and you're good to go. Now, with this, the top right, you have this, what looks like to be like 6 different squares together. If you press on that, it just gives you more information about the filter and the types of things that it eliminates. Now, this fan does not eliminate any formaldehyde. I'm gonna go over that again later in the video, but it does not eliminate any formaldehyde. Now, going back again, pressing on those 3, then you have the smart diagnosis. Now, this is a really cool feature. I tried it out once or twice. I didn't obviously find any issues with the fan, but I still wanted to try it out. So let's give it a shot together. So right here, you have the ability to actually have the app diagnose the fan to see if there's any issues going on, and it tells you if there's any issues with the motor. So if we press get started, as you can see, it's pretty quick because it's not going to find anything wrong, as you can see, because it's pretty much brand new. I only had it for 5 months, so it's really too early to tell if there's any issues. But here is some of the things that it measures. It looks at the temperature sensor, the humidity sensor, the fan motor, and other smaller parts within the fan. Now, if we go back again to those 3 dots, below here is your settings option. Now, once you press on that, you have different information that you can change. So you can give your fan a nickname, you can change the location of where your fan is currently is. So right now I didn't exactly assign it a location, but below here you have your air quality sensor. So remember when I was going over the Dyson app and I talked about continuous monitoring? That's what this fan can do. Same as the Dyson, fan, except I only have the quality or the air quality monitoring turned on once I turn on the fan. I can also change that to always on. And what that does is that when you put it on auto mode, it's going to work even better because it's able to monitor what's going on in the environment. So when it's off, if it sees that your air quality is decreasing, it's going to automatically turn on and utilize the fan, as it sees fit to improve your air quality. Now, going back again, you have the option to change your network or delete the product altogether. Now, this option is really if you're having issues with the fan and you want to try to pair it again. Now, when you go back to the main screen that we were first greeted with when we paired the fan, you have these 3 lines at the top left. If we press on that, this is the menu that you're greeted with. Now, I'm not going to go over everything here. The main thing I'm going to go over with you is the routines option. This is because this is one of the most impressive fans when it comes to automation that I have seen. So simply, I'll give you a very easy example. What you can do is you can set this fan that once your outside temperature reaches 70 degrees, you can have this fan turn at fan speed level 4 for 2 hours. And you can do this all through here. You can customize a bunch of different automation settings, and you can even add some of these automation and setups to your Apple shortcuts. So this is something I did a separate video on. If you're interested in checking that out, I'm going to leave a link to that right here, and you can just see it for yourself. But as far as automation, this fan is extremely impressive and beats the Dyson fan by light years. When it comes to warranties, that's when things get a little bit interesting with the LG fan. Now, with the Dyson fan, you get 2 years of manufacturer warranty that covers any parts and labor. But with the LG fan, you only get 1 year of parts and labor warranty from the manufacturer, from LG. But you also get a 10-year warranty on the smart inverter motor inside the LG fan. And that really impresses me that LG is really standing behind their motor for 10 years. The next thing I wanted to do is test out how sensitive these sensors are for each fan. So what I did is I lit up a candle and I have both fans set to level 5 fan speed, as well as they're both on the same setting screen for the particulate matter of 10 microns or less. And as you can see, the LG is actually a little bit more sensitive than the Dyson. The Dyson is reading about 3, meanwhile the LG is reading about 8. So what that tells me is that the LG fan has a more sensitive sensor than the Dyson fan. So now that I showed you which fan has a more sensitive sensor, let me show you now which fan has a more responsive sensor. So what I'm going to do now is blow out the candle, and we're going to see which one reacts faster to the smoke that is the unburned carbon that is coming out of the candle once you blow it out. So I'm going to do that now. And there we go. So the Dyson had a more responsive sensor than the LG. The LG is still trying to go up a little bit, but the sensor for the Dyson was a little bit faster. Now, mind you, the smoke, once I blew it out, did lean towards the fan a little bit, but it should still have been sensed by the LG as quickly as the Dyson because of how sensitive it is. So there you have it. When it comes to the sensors for each fan, the LG is more sensitive and the sensor for the Dyson is more responsive. The next test involves fan speed and to check which fan is more powerful at different fan speed settings. Now, with the Dyson and the LG, they're both on level 1. I'm going to be testing them at level 1, 5, and 10. Now, with the LG, I'm also going to be testing it on turbo mode. Now, starting with level 1, let's see how good is the Dyson here. So the Dyson is reading about 2.5 miles an hour. Now with the LG, let's see. So my meter is not reading really much from the LG, and that's because there isn't really a ton of air coming out. So we're gonna move on now to level 5. Now level 5 on the Dyson. It is reading about 5.2 miles an hour. Next, with the LG fan, it is reading about, let's see, The LG fan is reading about 3.8, 3.9 miles an hour, so about 1 mile an hour less in fan speed at level 5 versus the Dyson. Now level 10. Okay, so now I have both fans on level 10. So let's see the Dyson. Just want to make sure I'm getting it at the right opening. So the Dyson is around 10 miles an hour. Meanwhile, the LG, surprisingly is at, I would say, 7 miles an hour. Let's keep going, let's keep it up. It was reading almost 7 miles an hour. Here we go, 7.2, 7.3 miles an hour. So now I turned off the Dyson, and now we're gonna test out the LG fan on turbo mode. Now when I tested it at fan speed level 10, it clocked about 7.5 miles an hour for fan speed. Now I'm gonna put it on turbo, and let's take a look to see how powerful it is. So it's getting around, I'm gonna say 9.1. So there is a 0.9 mile an hour difference between this on turbo mode and Dyson being on level 10 fan speed. So when it comes to which fan is more powerful, the Dyson has won that. When it comes to which fan purifies your air better, while both fans worked pretty well, I'm gonna go with the Dyson TP04 Tower Fan. Not to take anything away from the LG fan, it worked pretty well, but I just felt like the response from the Dyson was just a little bit better and quicker when it comes to purifying my air than it was with the LG fan. That doesn't say that, I'm not trying to say that the LG fan did not work. Absolutely not, it worked pretty well, but I just like the response of the Dyson better than I do with the LG fan. Not to mention that I have more info on the Dyson app and customization options, especially when I'm dealing with an apartment where I'm trying to focus the fan on a certain area. The Dyson app came in extremely useful, especially with the customization for the oscillation of the fan. So just a couple things I kept in mind and I utilized during my time of owning both of these fans. Now it's time for me to share with you my recommendation. Now, I personally prefer the Dyson TP04 Tower Fan for several reasons. First is value. Now, the LG fan goes for about $550, or I believe $600 in certain markets, and the Dyson goes for about $400 now because it's a couple of years older. But it doesn't mean that it's older in performance. As we saw between all the different tests that I did, it is actually holding up very well against the LG, which just came out a few months ago. So not only that, but the filter as well. The long-term upkeep of replacing these filters is expensive with the LG fan. That's because the filter for the LG fan goes for $100 from LG's official website, or official filter goes for $80. Meanwhile, the Dyson is $80. So you're saving $20 every time you have to replace your filter, which adds up over the years. Another big reason I recommend the Dyson TP04 is the detachable power cable. The fact that it can be disconnected just in case anything happens with this cable, I think is super important to me. That's because a lot of this time that you're going to be using this fan, probably it's going to be on the floor. You never know what may happen. You might cut it by accident. One of your pets may chew it up. Now, this is what I don't like about the LG fan, because the LG fan, you cannot disconnect the wire. It is permanently connected to the fan, which means if you have any issues with it, you have to either send it in to get it fixed or just get a whole new fan. So these were my reasons about why I like the Dyson better than the LG. But I can see how some of you out there may like the LG better than the Dyson. For example, the LG fan can detect microns as small as 1.0. Meanwhile, the Dyson, the smallest microns it can detect is 2.5 microns in size. So for a lot of you out there that care about that, for me, I don't really care that much about that. But for a lot of you that do, the LG is obviously a great winner for you over the Dyson fan. Now, another thing that's great with the LG fan is if you already have a set of smart LG appliances that are already linked to the app and you're trying to run a smart home environment from the app, the LG fan is also a great idea. Another big feature that the LG fan has that the Dyson doesn't is the UV nanotechnology. Now, if you're not familiar with that, what that is a piece of technology where it utilizes UV light to clean off any dust on the fan itself. So within the air purifier on the actual fans, it eliminates 99.9% of any dust that is piling up on the fans. Now, the reason why this is cool is because when you turn on the fan again after you haven't used it in a couple days, you don't want all that dust coming back out into your air. So that's very cool, but to me, it wasn't a big enough issue where it's worth it for me to go with the LG fan. So this was my comparison video between the Dyson TP04 Tower Fan and the LG PuriCare AeroTower Purifying Fan. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any comments or questions, leave them down below. Hope you have a great day. Take care.